5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome to Sci-Finatics weekly Star Trek Picard live stream. Thanks everyone for coming. I hope everybody is keeping safe and healthy out there in this crazy world we're living in now, and it's good to be able to chat about Star Trek Picard and things like that to take our minds off things. So it's good that all you guys could come and be part of the live stream today. So as always, we're going to have a bit of a look through to start with the production photos that CBS released yesterday for some of the new images for this final episode of Star Trek Picard. Hey Tad, greetings mate. Thanks for coming along to the live stream as always, and welcome David as well. So we're going to have a look through these production stills for the last episode of Picard. It's the last one. One more to go, only a couple of days, and then that'll be it for a while. So let's bring up these images and let's see what we can glean from our last episode of Picard. So for starters, we have... But actually, before I get on this, David has asked, I enjoy your YouTube channel. Thank you very much, David. About the new Star Trek Picard, do you think Lore is back in terms of trying to pretend that he is the new son of Dr. Soong seen in TNG episode Brothers? I have heard this theory. It sounds like a cool one. Like if Dr. Alton Soong did turn out to be a Lore would be a great twist. I'm not quite sure how that's worked though, because obviously, are we going to find out that Dr. Soong is an android? In which case, how did Lore, did they build a android that looked like an old version of Lore? It's sort of there's a few question marks there, and I think it's a good theory. I think it would be a great twist. I'm just not sure of the logistics in terms of how that might have come to be. But let's see and wait. Let's wait and see whether that might be the case or not. Hey Santi, hey Amelia, welcome along to the live stream. So let's have a look at these stills. What have we got to start with? We've got a shot of Rios standing what looks like the courtyard of the synth colony, and he's got a bit of a surprised look on his face, and he's looking towards... Is that the fountain? There's those little pylons or whatever. I know there's a round fountain in the middle of the sort of courtyard area from looking at some of those aerial shots of the synth colony. So I wonder if he's standing near that. And it looks like we've got Soji in the foreground and a couple of synthetics either side of her. So yeah, he's looking quite shocked. I'm not sure whether this is potentially... I don't know, maybe they're working on the beacon thing. I mean, there's a couple of shots in the trailer where we see this triangular-shaped beacon firing its beam of energy up towards the sky to open up the portal or rift or whatever it is to what seems like get all of the alliance of synths from an alternate dimension or whatever it is coming to their rescue. But yeah, Rios does look a little bit perturbed in this shot. He's obviously surprised about something. I agree, Amelia. I wish they had a 22 episode run like the old days on this series. Well, it certainly feels like our 10 episodes have just rocketed by. It's sort of it seems like hardly ever ago that we were watching episode 1 back towards the end of January. So it's yeah. I reckon they should have done at least like a 12 or 13 episode first season. 10 always seems a bit short. But all that being said, though, I have very little tolerance now for shows that have like a 22 or a 24 episode season. They just feel so. We're so used to more short form storytelling now with Netflix and all those series tending to be more along the lines of your sort of 12 or 13 episode seasons. Whenever I watch a show now that has 22 episodes in the first season, it just seems so slow and so padded out by comparison with other shows. So I think Picard would have been great if it had been a 12 or 13 episode first season. And Discovery do. Someone might correct me on this. I think is it 15 or 16 episodes? I think in the Discovery season. So yeah, well, it would have been nice to have 12 or 13 episodes for the first season of Picard. But they've obviously thrown a bit of money behind the show. So I guess they probably burnt their budget up. And whether Patrick Stewart sort of said no, I only want to do 10 episode seasons because he's a bit older and a bit maybe not as sprightly as he once was. So maybe he kind of stipulated 10 episode seasons or something, perhaps just so it didn't tire him out too much. In our next shot, we have a image here of Narak and Nerissa. Now, looking at this shot, I'm trying to gauge as to whether this is this on the Borg cube or is this on one of the Romulan warbirds? I'm not sure. I'm just trying to get a closer look at the photo. It almost looks a bit more Borg cube-like. I wonder whether this is on board the Borg cube, perhaps. Yes. Santi, just 10 episodes and waiting a year. I would even guess we might be waiting even longer than a year for season 2. I know they were originally talking about ramping into season 2 not that long down the track because season 1's been very well received. But with the state of the world right now, with coronavirus and all that sort of stuff, I think they're going to probably wait until things have settled down with that before any new production started. So we could be waiting quite some time for season 2 of Picard, unfortunately, which is sad to say. So what do you guys reckon? Do you reckon this shot is on board the Borg cube, or is this on a Romulan warbird? But it looks like is this Nerissa? I'm struggling to see this photo because my monitor's on a smaller screen. But if you guys can zoom in, is this Nerissa that Narak's talking to, or is this just another Romulan chick? I'm just trying to see her face here. So yeah, I'm not sure whether this is. I think it's Nerissa, but it's not some other Romulan that he happens to be talking to. Now, we've got Picard sitting. Maybe it looks like he's almost sitting by a like he's got firelight or something on his face. Like there was a shot in the trailer during the week where it had Raffi and Narak, what looked like kind of sitting around a campfire having a discussion or something, and Narak was kind of saying, the sky's going to crack and the world's going to burn and all that sort of stuff. So I wonder whether this is another point of view on that scene, or whether it's an entirely different one. Is it got a little antique table there next to him? So I wonder whether this is in his. Is this on the holodeck, the Chateau Picard office set that Picard often sits in? So yeah, there could be this. I don't recognize the chair though. It sort of looks like a slightly different environment than usual here. Perhaps I don't recognize the chair from his office, but you guys might have another theory on that. Looks like it's that. Yes, Wes. It does look like the furniture looks reminiscent of his office on the ship. So maybe he's sitting in there deliberating what's going down. But obviously, if that's the case, then he must escape from the clutches of the synths, because obviously when last we saw Picard, he was being hauled off by a couple of synths to be put in under house arrest, where he was kind of locked down in an office somewhere or whatever on the colony. So if he's back in his office set on the La Sirena, obviously he must get rescued at some point, and he's back on board the La Sirena here. Looks like a fireplace reflection, Cookie. Yes, it does. And if this is the case, then this shot potentially links up with the shot we see in the trailer for this week's episode, showing, as I said, Narak and Raffi having a chat about the state of things, that the world's going to burn and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully, Narak wasn't talking about our world and the current state of affairs of things. It's it could be a fire pit. Yeah, unless of course they've. It looks like an indoor location. Whether Picard has actually, it could be the other end. What it actually probably is, now that I come to think of it, is so at one end of Picard's office in his set, he's got his desk and a couple of chairs around his desk. But at the other end of his office set, there's a fireplace up against the opposite wall, and there's a couch and so forth. I think in an earlier episode, he kind of sat and had a cup of tea with Jarate there. So there is a fireplace in his holographic office. So I'm guessing at this point they're all sitting around his fireplace, around the couch at the opposite end of his office, not where his desk is, the opposite end of the room for this scene, perhaps, and having a bit of a chat about the state of things and what they're going to do, because there's a lot of things we've got to take into account in this last episode. Because you think about it, we've got not only 218 Romulan warbirds coming to bear down upon the planet, we've got the synthetics basically shunning all organics and wanting to use the information in Jarate's head from the admonition to build the antenna array to contact the alliance of synths. We've got the crash landed Borg cube, which is trying to repair. We've got potentially a squadron of Federation starships that were kind of sent out by Admiral Clancy, that are kind of whether they're just twiddling their thumbs at DS-12, looking at their watches and wondering why Picard's not there, or whether they got the message that Picard sent out in the last episode and they're currently on their way to the planet. All of this is up for debate. Maybe this, so Wes asks, maybe this is a scene at the very end of the episode as they contemplate something which will continue in season 2. That's possible, although if it, as I said, if it links in with some of the shots we saw in the trailer, which looked like they were kind of by firelight as well, it seems like they were more, this is kind of like the calm before the storm moment. So it's almost like they're gathering and having a little bit of a war room style meeting to discuss options amidst, maybe there's, at this point there's, merely hours to go before the Romulan fleet arrives, and they've just talking about what their options are, maybe. It reminds me of that line from Best of Both Worlds where, was it Picard was talking about old ship captains, and they used to walk the decks or walk the halls of their ships, before a major battle, which Picard did just before the Borg invaded or whatever in that Best of Both Worlds episode. So maybe this is kind of a scene a bit like that, where everyone's kind of contemplating their own mortality and the whole state of things, with the Romulans on their way and the alliance of synths being contacted by the android colony. What do we got next? We've got Nerissa and Narak again. I think we can definitely confirm now, looking at the wall behind Nerissa in that sort of top right-hand corner of the shot, that they are in fact on the Borg cube. So how has Nerissa got herself on board the Borg cube? Unless, as somebody I think pointed out earlier, this could be a hologram, because we did see Narak chatting with Nerissa in an earlier episode via holographic communication. So maybe this is him having a chat with her via holographic, because surely she's on board a Romulan warbird, heading to the planet. So maybe she's kind of just checking in with him, maybe just sort of saying, hey, how's it going? Have you infiltrated the synth colony? What can we expect in terms of their defenses? Maybe Narak sort of saying, oh, yep, they got about 10 big space flowers they're going to send after you. Because obviously there's a couple of shots in the trailer for this week's episode we saw, which has our giant space flowers attacking Romulan fleets and so forth. Now, we didn't see any Federation ships, but I would have hazard a guess that is that Amelia, I think. Is it a phaser? He's pointing at her. His hand is partially obscured behind her back, but you might be right. I'm on just underneath my camera here. I've got my monitor set up so I can see what I'm live streaming to you guys and everything. But the actual window I'm looking at the photograph is actually quite small. So in terms of being able to see the fine detail of the shot, but it definitely looks like his finger is kind of like in that kind of position. So you're quite right. I wonder if we'll see more in Star Trek Picard. So yes, if Narak is in fact got a gun pointing at Nerissa, because there was a shot in the trailer which we saw, which kind of has Narak kind of outside the last arena going, hey guys, I'm here. Hi, Raffi. Hi, Rios. I'm here to help save the galaxy or whatever, which kind of, as I said in my review for the upcoming the trailer for the episode, it seems like an odd shift to suddenly, have Narak join our crew. Like, is he gonna come to the last arena on that crash landing site on the planet, and is he gonna kind of go, you guys can see now these synths, they're setting up this antenna, they're going to contact this alliance, we're all going to die, they're going to come out, wipe out all organics in the Alpha Quadrant, I told you so, so let's kind of join forces and fight them off. When we've kind of seen Narak as an antagonist for this whole season, is it going to be a bit of a shift for us to get our heads around the fact if he has a phaser pointed at Nerissa here, if he's kind of joined up with the last arena crew, is that a bit of a stretch? What do you guys reckon? Do you reckon if suddenly Narak becomes one of the good guys, is that kind of like, like, don't see it? What do you guys think about that? Is that just too much of a stretch in terms of what we've seen of his character throughout the course of this first season? Or do you kind of see that as, like, I'll buy into that? Big shrug. Big shrug there from Amelia. But yeah, it definitely seems like that is the direction that things are potentially heading in, with him talking to the last arena crew. If this in shot is in fact him got a phaser pointed at Nerissa, that could be the direction we're heading in. Santa, yes, I've got a shot coming up of that, which I was going to talk about. We'll get to that. We'll get to the Borg Sphere in just a sec. We've got Jarate here in a lab. She's got a lab coat on now. So maybe she's helping Dr. Sung with his golem, the golem that he had on the table there in the lab. She's in there maybe finalizing the body, because obviously they've set this up as he's got this template body. Now, how this template body is going to turn out, it certainly looked like a flesh and blood android because it had kind of internal organs and so forth, which we saw in that. So I wonder whether that is going to play a big part in our finale, whether Jarate and Dr. Sung are putting this empty golem android template body to use in some fashion. Okay, so you guys reckon Narak is going to go to the Borg ship and wreak havoc? Well, I mean, he's not a particularly trustworthy person, is he? Like, he's on many occasions, his prime move is to get people sucked in to believing him as a good guy, and then turning around and stabbing people in the back. He not only did that to Soji, but also in that dogfight we saw when he first came through the Borg transwarp conduit, and he's having that fight in space. He kind of played possum or whatever in terms of pretending to be disabled and on minimal life support and so forth. And then once the Lancer and a crew felt sorry for him, he turned around and started attacking them again. So he's definitely been established as his main course of tactics is to get people to feel sorry for him, get people to come on his side, and then pretty much turn around and stab them in the back. That's kind of his main thing, I think. So, Brian, good to have you as a new subscriber, mate. Welcome to the channel. So I wonder whether Jarate is helping Dr. Sung with the lab coat on here. Maybe it looks like she's kind of, walking urgently into the room like they're on a mission, maybe to create new life, perhaps. We shall see. Now, this is a shot from last week's episode, but I thought I'd include it in the stills because as I think it was Santi said earlier, I think the sphere will lift off, not the whole cube. As we can see in this photo, you can clearly see the little hole there in the side of the cube where I'm assuming the Borg sphere comes out of. We've seen that before in Star Trek First Contact, where when the Borg cube got sufficiently disabled or crippled in that fight against all the Federation starships, it was destroyed, but just before it blew up, the Borg sphere came out of it, and that was the one that went through time and back into Zefram Cochrane's era. So we've certainly seen a few shots of the Borg cube which establish this Borg sphere. What are you going to call it? A shuttle bay? It's sort of like a shuttle bay. It's sort of like a receptacle where the sphere comes out of. So I think you're probably on the money with that, because the Borg cube is kind of pretty badly damaged. It's crash landed. It's half of it sitting in the water down on the colony planet. So I think it's probably far more likely that maybe the Borg cube will stay on the planet. Maybe if they can get the weapons up and running, it can act as like a ground-based defense platform, perhaps. It can still fire on, I don't know, incoming ships or so forth and remain grounded. But maybe Seven and Elnor or whoever else can take the sphere up into space and be part of the space battle there, because obviously in the trailer we've seen plenty of shots of the Romulan fleet engaging with the giant space orchids, and we've kind of seen a few of those little snakehead Romulan scout ships, whether that's Narak's ship or a couple of his other Romulans flying around there. And we've seen the La Serena ducking and weaving and flying around, evading Romulan disruptor fire. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether the Borg Sphere, with Seven at the helm, engages in the combat situation there. Let me just have a quick look at the live chat. Reminds me of the kid who cried wolf, the boy who cried wolf one too many times, and then when there was a wolf, no one believed him. And you think the same will happen to Narok? Yeah, look, Narak has certainly set up himself for people not to trust him. So if he, as you say, if he cries wolf one too many times, they're just going to probably let him succumb to giant space flowers or these giant mechanical centipede thingies that look like they're coming out of the red kind of rift or portal that opens up there. Let's have a look at our next shot. This looks like another shot of Picard in his little office set on the Last Arena. So I wonder what this happens at this. It looks like this is just an earlier shot, that one we saw earlier, which had Picard with the sort of firelight on his face. Maybe this is the beginning of the scene. He comes into the office, they get the fire going, sits down, and they start talking about the state of things and how they're gonna win, how they're gonna achieve any kind of victory with the odds against them. That would be my guess. This is another shot from our trailer for the episode. We've got a huge space battle here. This is no doubt the beginning of the space battle. We've got about what did they say they had? They had 10 big space flowers versus 218 Romulan warbirds. Now, obviously, these space flowers, we haven't seen them actually. Their defensive capabilities, as what we saw last episode, they just seem to come up. You had the ship, and the space flower comes up and kind of wraps itself around the ship and then just drags it down to the planet. Now that's okay when you got one flower taking on one ship, but obviously when you've got a whole fleet of 200 plus warbirds, it's not like they can one by one come up, grab the ship, take it down. Next one comes up, grabs the ship, takes it down. That's a pretty slow means of taking out a fleet of warbirds. So maybe these flowers have got some kind of other defensive capability we haven't seen yet. Maybe they, I don't know, maybe they open up and spray some sort of pollen or something at the warbirds or something to that effect. I'm not sure. Because all we've seen them do so far is envelop ships and kind of pull them down to the planet, which, yeah, is kind of difficult to do one at a time when you've got a fleet of 200 plus ships attacking you. So 10 plus Borg cube. Shadow, yeah, look, I would be surprised. I think what we've talked about previously in terms of the Borg involvement in the battle, I would be surprised if the cube ends up flying around up as part of it. I think the Borg Sphere is a more likely course of action, perhaps. And also, we're not taking into account maybe the involvement of the Federation as well. I think that's going to be the cavalry moment, isn't it? I think in this fight, surely you don't set up in the script these multiple conversations with Picard and Clancy and so forth, where he's kind of saying, we've got a squadron of Federation starships. They were all sent to DS-12. Hopefully Picard's message has gotten through, and they've now rerouted themselves to Gulian 4 to take part in this massive space battle. I'm sure it'll be at one of those moments where all of these giant space orchids have probably been destroyed. Their defenses are kind of open, but maybe the orchids have kind of taken out, I don't know, maybe the orchids have taken out 100, maybe warbirds, or maybe, I don't know. How many? Here's some speculation for you. How many Romulan warbirds do you think 10 space orchids would be able to take out? Would you be able to say maybe, I don't know, 2-to-1 ratio? Maybe, I don't know, maybe more than that perhaps? I don't know. Do you reckon 10 space orchids could take out 50 warbirds? Maybe? I don't know. As I said, we haven't really seen their entire defensive capabilities yet. All we've seen them do is envelop ships, which seems a very slow and ineffective defense against multiple fleets of ships. But we shall see. Thank you, Jerry. I'm glad you enjoy my show. It's always good to have people hear that people are enjoying my channel. So yes, I'm certainly looking forward to this this big space battle here. It's going to be a bit of a cracker, I think. I think we haven't really seen. One thing I guess I'm looking forward to as well is we have not seen any Federation starships in this season whatsoever. We've seen the La Sirena, we've seen the Borg Q, we've seen some Romulan ships, but we haven't seen any Federation ships whatsoever. Any communications that have happened, they've just been, Picard talking to Clancy in her office. They've been Picard talking to Clancy on the holographic communication type system in the holodeck. On the ship type thing. We've not seen any Federation ships whatsoever. So I'm hoping, the big question is, if we see the Federation squadron coming to the rescue, are we going to see Riker and Troy? Riker has said he's still an active reserve. I don't think you drop a line like that without having it pay off later in the show. So I would love to think we're going to see Riker and Troy rock up as part of the task force to help here. But will it be on the Titan? Maybe we'll see the Enterprise F. I'm not sure. I think, what do you reckon? What would be cooler? Do you think it would be cooler if the Enterprise F shows up, or do you think it would be, or do we want to see Riker on his ship, the Titan, show up as part of this fight? But we do. You're right, Santi. We do need Federation ships. I think they've been. It'd be great to see, and one element that's been very absent from this season. So it'd be great to see that in the finale. Yeah. Look, Jarate Red Dragon is still. She can't be trusted. I think in the last few episodes, that they're still. Everyone's given her way too much of a free pass on the whole murdering thing of Maddox. So I think even in the last episode when Dr. Sung chastised her for murdering Maddox, he sort of said, "Oh, shame on you, Agnes, for murdering Maddox." It's like you shouldn't. He was obviously colleagues with Sung. They worked, on all the androids on the colony together. They would have been friends. I was kind of surprised at how much of a free pass he kind of gave her. I would have thought he would have been far more angry and appalled, and really let her have it, for murdering Maddox. But everyone seems to be kind of just sort of maybe giving her a bit of a free pass because she wasn't kind of her right mind. Maybe it was kind of a case of, well, she kind of was under the influence of a mind meld that O put on her. So O was clearly, I don't know, maybe implanted a suggestion in her subconscious to murder Maddox. So maybe we give her a bit of a free pass because her actions were manipulated and implanted rather than Jarate actually, doing it of her free will. Now, this is another shot I thought I'd include here from our trailer, which shows this sort of rift or portal being opened in space in orbit of Coppelius, with a whole bunch of like big sort of space caterpillar, millipede, centipede things coming through. Do we reckon these are the synths, or do we reckon these are like the defense mechanisms of the synths that come through first to kind of clear out ships or something? They're like some sort of automated destructive devices that kind of clear the way, and the synths will be coming out after they've kind of taken out some of the ships and so forth first, perhaps. What do you guys reckon in terms of that? I think I'd be surprised if these are the actual synths, these caterpillar, centipede kind of creatures. Inside space flowers, yes, Shadow. Yes, the combat against giant space flowers is to send out giant space insects to eat the giant space flowers. I think that's it's a very, very organic kind of, gardening, all these gardening and, floral and insect kind of metaphors in this, I think, are interesting. Although it wouldn't be the case of them trying to attack the flowers or anything, because obviously these giant caterpillars are coming to the aid of our androids, so they would be working with the giant space flowers. So whether we've got a whole bunch of Romulan warbirds being attacked by not only giant space flowers but by giant space centipedes as well, so we've got a very, very organic space battle, perhaps. All these insects and flowers all flapping around in orbit of Coppelius, attacking Romulan ships. I'm not sure. That could be an interesting course of events. Maybe devices used to actually destroy the synths. Maybe the beacon is a trap to call them to it. Well, it's possible. There certainly has been a lot of deceptive things. People have taken messages the wrong way. There have been interpretations of the messages. So I think there's certainly plenty of avenue for debate as to who's fighting on which side. I think we've got so many different factions in this battle, from giant space centipedes to giant orchids to Romulans to the Alliance of Synths. We've got the Federation. We've got the Borg Cube. We're gonna have it's gonna be a sky full of stuff to cope with in this last episode, I'm guessing. So yeah, this is obviously our shot earlier with Narak, and it will be very interesting to see whether Narak becomes a good guy or whether he's just talking to our last Serena crew in a deceptive nature to try to deceive them, into letting him on board the ship or the Borg Cube so he can run amok like he always tends to do. I think our crew would be foolish to trust whatever he says, because it's been proven time and time again that you can't trust this dude. Everything that comes out of his mouth is just a bunch of rubbish. He can't be trusted. So this is our space antenna. Clearly that they've managed to get the information out of Jarate's head and the instructions to build this antenna array. Now, even though I mentioned this in my my review of the trailer earlier in the week, a couple of days back, do we think this? So obviously we see in a previous shot the red beam firing into space and opening up that rift where the centipedes are coming out. Do we think this is part of that same beam? So even though this beam is blue, firing up into the sky, do we think the red beam that is opening the portal is part of this process? Or do we think this is something completely different? Because we've seen a red beam firing into space and a blue beam here. So, I don't know, I was sort of speculating maybe the beam starts off as blue and then as it builds power and gets ready to open up the portal, maybe it turns red and opens up the rift, which the centipedes then kind of come through. I'm not sure. Just, it's fun to speculate, isn't it? So I wonder whether this is part of that process. I'd be interested to know what you guys reckon, but it seems plausible that this would be part of that same process, even though the beam is a different color. I wonder whether the producers, when they released this trailer, have color graded this shot differently, so it misdirects us. Perhaps, I'm not sure. Shadow spidery ships in Bab 5 were. Are you talking about? Actually, there have been some comments that even the big flower ships in. For you guys that remember Babylon 5, which is one of my favourite sci-fi series of all time after Star Trek and everything, Babylon 5 is certainly one of my favourites over the years. The flower ships have certainly got a little bit of a Vorlon kind of, appearance to them as well. And yes, the spidery ships in Bab 5, which the shadows, that's right. Your name, the shadow ships or whatever were certainly maybe a little bit like the centipedes here, so it'd be interesting to see. And we're back to our first slide there again with Rios back in the courtyard of the colony there. So that's our photos. We've got a lot of interesting stuff, and as I said, it's certainly going to be very interesting to see how I think the space battle and how that plays out is certainly going to be a very interesting element of this episode. I think. The other thing we haven't seen too much of is the whole Dr. Sung element. There's been a lot of chit-chat online and everything during the course of the week as to whether is Dr. Alton Sung really Dr. Alton Sung? Is he really the son of Sung? Maybe is he Law? We certainly know that all of our androids on Coppelius were created from positronic neurons that were smuggled out of the Daystrom Institute by Maddox. Now, the question is were the positronic neurons that were smuggled out of the Daystrom Institute that Maddox took to Coppelius, where he kind of rendezvoused with Sung, were they from B4? Were they from Law? There's always a bit of speculation there as to whether Law has some DNA in say Sutra. Maybe as we've met Sutra, who seems to very much be the evil android kind of version of Daj and Soji. One thing I kind of noticed during the week, which occurred to me, if you guys remember the scene in the Romulan Warbird, the scene in the Borg cube. So in the Borg cube, earlier, do you remember the fortune telling scene where Soji was kind of getting her fortune read with the little triangular tarot cards and so forth? And remember when Ramda, the fortune teller lady, said, "Oh, you're the destroyer. You're the destroyer. Are you the one that lived or the one that died?" Now, remember, when we saw that scene, everybody was thinking the one that lived, the one that died. So Daj died and Soji lived. She must be talking about Daj who died, Soji who lived. But no. Think about it. Are you the one that died or are you the one that lived? Pair of sisters. Sutra, her sister, Janna, on the Ibn Majid, shot to death by Captain Vandermeer. She died. Janna was the sister of Sutra. So, Sutra is clearly the one that lived. Janna is the one that died. And they look the same as Daj and Soji, apart from the fact that they're an earlier model. So they're the Data-looking style android. And obviously Daj and Soji were a sort of more advanced model with the whole flesh and blood thing going on. But yes, I think it seems clear that this reference to the destroyer, the one that lived and the one that died, is a reference to Janna and Sutra, not to Daj and Soji, and that Sutra is in fact the destroyer of worlds. And, I think, Soji is probably going to realise that her sister Sutra is this destroyer, and maybe she's going to have a crisis of conscience and realise that, her newfound sister Sutra is a kind of a nasty piece of work, and she's going to go and, maybe return to her crew and help them out again or whatever. So whether there's going to be Tad, I just blew your mind. I'm hoping this is just my speculation that I'm coming up with here, but yes, I think that's a pretty good chance to just putting some of the puzzle pieces together. So that's I think maybe how it's going to play out, and just whether Soji's going to realise that and come to realise that we're probably going to actually have this dynamic between Soji and Sutra is probably going to become a little bit like our dynamic between Lore and Data. It's, the whole evil android, they're brothers, or in this case sisters, but they're there's a good one and an evil one. It's sort of going to probably play out in a very similar kind of fashion, perhaps would be my my potentially understanding of how this is possibly going to play out in the episode. But we've got, there's lots of speculation about Lore and everything. Whether I think Lore is going to come into it in some fashion. But whether that be just to reveal that, maybe Sutra and Janna, they were maybe made from a single positronic neuron from Lore, perhaps, and maybe Daj and Soji were made from one from Data or B4. I think there's possibly going to be a Data Lore connection to Daj and Soji in some fashion. I don't know whether Sung is going to turn out to be Lore, but I think there will be. I would be surprised if we've come this far and there ends up being kind of no reference to Lore at all, because I do think there is definitely some kind of reference there, I think, to Lore, but we haven't seen it yet, and I do think they're definitely saving that for the finale. Just looking at the live chat. Flores dressed in black, why would he try to be masking himself off as human instead of clothes to fool everyone? Some evil, crazy plan. Yeah, look, I mean, I mean, there have been hints in in the season so far that kind of, I think people thought were pointing in one direction, and have ended up being something completely different. So it's all well and good to be able to talk and speculate and come up with sort of theories and everything, but some of those turn out to be. I think the reality seems to be there are little elements of plots that have been kind of discussed over the course of the season. Some of them have turned out to be a variation on what the truth is. You know, they're never 100% correct. It's all, you know, we can all talk about it and, you know, discuss what our theories are. Sometimes they play out and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they play out in a similar but different way to how we anticipated. Just looking at the live chat, see. Oh, of course, don't forget, everybody, if you haven't already done so, please don't forget to like, comment, you know, super chat if you can. That'd be great. Cheers. Always very welcomed today, more than ever. It'd be very interesting to see how that kind of plays out in our episode, because what's today? We've only got a bit over 24 hours or so before our last episode goes to air. It'd be very interesting to see how our last episode definitely plays out. Now, in other news, I've got a couple of other news items I want to talk about before we wrap up for the day. And my first piece of news, before I do that, I'm surprised Picard didn't use the relationship with Data as leverage to get the Synths to trust him. Maybe that'll be part of the finale, but seems a lost narrative so far. Yes, because let's face it, all of these Synths on Coppelius, they've been created from a spark of Data. And I think that was shown with that scene where Picard and his crew first came to Coppelius and met our colony. What's her name? I forget, the chick with the not the one that got stabbed in the eye. What was her name? Someone remind me. The android looking chick who not the one that got stabbed in the eye. Saga and I forget her name. I think it was Saga's sister. Arcana. There we go. So Arcana, when she first met Picard, she wanted to touch his face and poke at his creases and his wrinkles and all that sort of stuff. And she clearly had, like, there was something in her DNA or makeup that kind of was drawn to Picard. Much like Daj was drawn to Picard when she first met Picard on Earth. There's obviously there's a connection there amidst all of these androids. There's a familiarity. There's a connection there. They hold Picard with a certain air of reverence and esteem. So I think it will be very interesting to see whether Picard, as you say, as to whether or not Picard will try to kind of tap into that, you know, that glimmer within all of them, you know, and try for them to understand that they mean no threat to them. There's no reason to exterminate all organic life across the galaxy. We can all live in peace and harmony and all that sort of stuff. So my announcement. I got two big announcements to go before we wrap up the live stream today. The first big announcement is I finally have a merch store up and running for Sci-Finatics. So if you happen to like these t-shirts and so forth that you see me wearing on air on the show, so they're really good quality. They got Sci-Finatics on the back. If you can, I'll hold that up there so you can kind of see that there. And they've got that on the front. They're really good quality, made by Spreadshirt, which is a great online merchandise store. There's like t-shirts and there's hoodies and there's mugs and baseball caps and so forth. Great range of stuff. I've got the link in the description of this live stream. So if anybody is interested in any merch for the channel, it is available at my partners at Spreadshirt. So check it out. I'll here you go. I made a little. I was going to put this in my next video, but this is a very short, like just sort of 15-20 second ad for the merchandise, which I'll show you. If you're a fan of my channel, now you can order exclusive Sci-Finatics merch, care of Spreadshirt. Check out the awesome collection of quality tees, hoodies, caps, and mugs in lots of quality styles for both guys and girls at very reasonable prices. Spreadshirt posted out at warp speed from their USA store or one of their many other international stores closer to you. So check it out, and thanks for supporting the channel. So there you go. So the merch will be available, it's available now, so you can grab it. So if you're interested, but by all means, please support the channel and go check out some of the merch that we have on the site there. Now I have another very important and very exciting announcement to make, and this is a huge announcement, and I can't say too much about what the nature of it is, but I will say this, that very, very soon after the conclusion of Star Trek Picard this week, on my channel, I will have an exclusive interview with one of the cast members of Star Trek Picard. So that is a huge exclusive announcement. This is the first time I'm letting fans of my channel know about it. It has only just been confirmed, literally within maybe 15 minutes of me starting this live stream today. So it is going to happen, and it will be very soon after the conclusion of this the season. So what I'll probably do is I will do my review as per normal of the last episode of Picard, which will be online shortly thereafter. And then shortly thereafter, after probably next weekend, early in the week, I will be. Will, thank you so much. Thank you so much, mate, for the super chat. Much appreciated. I'll give you a special super chat. There we go. Much appreciated, Will. Much appreciated indeed. So I'll do my review of the episode, as always, after that goes to air later this week, and then have a chat about that, and then yes, I will be probably organising to do this interview with one of our cast members. I'm not going to say which one just yet. I'm going to leave that a bit of a surprise. But my video next week will be an exclusive one-on-one interview on my channel with one of our cast members of Star Trek Picard. So that's something to look forward to, and a great announcement for my channel. Hopefully, I imagine it will be pre-recorded rather than live stream. So I'll probably do it as a pre-record and then post that up as one of my videos. So hopefully that will be. I'm guessing maybe Maybe about this time next week would be my guess, if all of the stars align and I'm able to arrange to do that fairly soon after the finale of Picard. My fingers are crossed to maybe have that up on my channel around this time next week. Would be my goal. But I will obviously be posting some information up on that on my community section of my my page. Keep an eye open for that because that's certainly going to be a huge highlight. And my aim would be to have a conversation with our Star Trek Picard cast member. And I'm not just talking about like a background extra, someone who played an android or something in the background, you know, of the colony scene. I'm talking about one of our principal primary cast members of the show. So stay tuned for that one. So thanks everybody. Hang on, just a quick question from Tad. Will you be doing any other series so we don't have to wait a year to see? No, that is a very good question, Tad. I am not going anywhere. The channel is still up and running, even though Picard is over. I will probably, I imagine, start doing some stuff to do with Star Trek Discovery Season 3, because I imagine that's probably going to be out sometime soon. I'm probably going to maybe do some reviews on Star Wars: The Clone Wars Season 7, which is airing at the moment on Disney+. I'm a big fan of that show. I think we've got episodes of The Orville starting up not too long down the track this year. So if there's news, obviously there's going to be news coming out probably about Picard Season 2, whether that's to do with casting or speculation about what the story might be. I'll certainly be doing videos of that, but in between doing all that sort of stuff, I'll be doing videos on probably Star Trek Discovery, probably the Orville, probably some Star Wars Clone Wars stuff. I'm certainly wanting to broaden the videos that I do to other sci-fi franchises as well as just Star Trek Picard, but I've obviously been focusing on Picard primarily while that show's been on air, because there's been so much to talk about. But yes, I'm not going anywhere. I will still be here putting out videos every week for you guys to enjoy. And I think it's good to absolutely Shadow, yes, Mandalorian as well. Obviously Mandalorian Season 2, I think. Well, it was due to be out later on this year, but the thing that worries me is that obviously with coronavirus sweeping the world at the moment, whether all of our production is going to be put on hold. I certainly know that from myself, before I started doing YouTube stuff, my main work is in the TV industry, and I certainly know that all of the production-based work that I've had has certainly dried up significantly, if not completely, with the advent of COVID-19 sweeping the world. So I wonder whether that is going to basically delay a lot of the production process of a lot of series that were maybe meant to be starting up soon, like The Mandalorian Season 2 of Picard, all that sort of thing. It's quite concerning that, maybe all these shows that we love are going to be much like they've delayed the Olympics till 2021, maybe a lot of these shows, the production process will be delayed on them for a year while the world sorts itself out and recovers from this terrible affliction that's really badly affecting us all, no matter where we are on the world at the moment. So I hope everybody is staying safe, doing their best to look out for their family and friends. Remember keeping your hands clean and washed and all that sort of stuff, and keeping that 6 feet or 1.5 meters separation between everybody. Keep the world healthy. The best way to help the world recover is for us all to isolate and to keep our distance from everybody. So my obviously thoughts go out to everybody in this difficult time, and I hope my channel and our little chats that we have about Star Trek Picard take our minds off these horrible things that are going on in the world at the moment. So I wish everybody the best, and stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you guys at the end of the week for my review of the final episode of Star Trek Picard. So yeah, I shall see you guys then for my last review of Season 1 Picard. Until then, stay safe.